Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
hi everybody. So we see we have already almost 30 people joining us for this session on cybersecurity. We're really honored to have Professor Georges Ataya from the Solvay Business School. I'm an ancien there, so we can go on with Georges tutoyer, and which apparently on webinars you can just drop all the decorum that we have in the real world and go for first name basis. So the people who want to ask, there's you with George. Caroline, maybe one word of explanations. Fintech Belgium, you're the woman behind this webinar who's putting it all together.
Yes, exactly.
Also at the button. So we're going to try to make this one even more interactive than the previous one. So if you have a good question and you want to ask it on stage, I will reach out to you and we can actually either to the audio or with the video. So if you want to ask a video question, maybe say that you're ready and up for that. That means that you're dressed and your hair is looking very nice, that you want to expose that to everybody, and a nice smile. So we can call you on stage. So without further ado, I would like you to maybe put the slides on there, Georges. We'll do your introduction with the program on there, and we're going to kick off right away. As you know, we're organizing these webinars during the Corona crisis to keep everybody informed. And one of the top questions we get from fintechs and more larger from the financial industries like cybersecurity, how do we address this to make sure that all these sensitive data remain secure and are only shared with those that we want them to be shared with? So on the second slide, you will see the program now. So we're gonna start. If Josh wants to click to the next slide, please. Yeah, fantastic. We're gonna go for some case studies, the methods that you should be putting in place, the skills that you might be lacking, and which certifications are available for you to also show to the legislator and the regulatory oversight authorities that you are really top-notch when it comes to cybersecurity. So without further ado, big welcome from all of us. Georges Ataya, I would say the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Caroline. I will not present myself a lot. I only mentioned that I'm professor at Solvay Brussels School of Economics and Management, in charge of academic director of executive education in domains of IT, information security, cybersecurity, and data protection, our recent program that started 3 years ago. I'm also involved in educating the second master 2, those last year of master in management, also the master 2 in polytechnics and in Faculty of Science, computer science. I'm also to finish with that, managing director of Ataya Partners, who are a group of people working and serving organizations mainly in the domains related of education, in parallel to Solvay. I mentioned the difference, as well as delivering services in various domains of assisting organization in implementing security. Yes, Todd.
I was going to say, maybe before diving into the subject that everybody is waiting for, you're a professor. We're going into a webinar now. How's it going at Solvay and beyond that? How are you coping as an academic and keeping contact with your students and sharing the insights you normally do on stage?
We had one tough week where I didn't deliver classes. But the week after, it was straight away. We all delivered classes. Every class was delivered on time.
Wow.
Through electronic means. We had very efficient IT department that helped us implement everything. And so today I'm lecturing. I lectured yesterday from 8 to 10 to my students, and it went well.
And what tool are you using there? What is the tool of choice?
Our IT director converted 1 or 2 years ago to Microsoft Suite. As we are using Teams. I'm using Zoom because for my professional education at Ataya Partners, we use Zoom. So I'm using both of them.
I'm sure we're going to go back to Zoom because they're very hot when it comes to security and known breaches and some gray zone things they're doing to make the installation of their software so flawless. But let's go to the content first. I'm sure we're going to touch upon those. And again, people on your the right side of your screen, if you're following this, you can ask questions through the chat, and we'll launch some polls from time to time to make the engagement even go further. So looking forward to the next slide.
Thank you very much. So I will not go through again through the index to what I will be presenting. We'll come back to this one if necessary. As you know, there are many incidents. I mean, there are every month major incident. I listed some of those. I put in the center Ashley Madison because I have a funny story with that one. I was presenting this similar slide to a Rotary Club, and one of the members, I mean, it could be Rotary or anything else, but one of the members came to me and said, Ms. Ataya, well, you will never know what happened to me with Ashley Madison. Actually, I was member of that site, and I was my wife was aware. I was really there for fun, and once they had the hack, 2-3 weeks later, he started receiving emails from different organizations, from different names, asking him, "Dear Jan, we know that you were a member of Ashley Madison. We know that you paid with the credit card number such and such, paid on that date, and we know that you have been accessing it for the last time on that date. Well, we will not tell anybody, and certainly not your wife. This is our bank account."
So hush scams trying to silence you. Okay.
And received that almost every second week during that period that followed that problem.
Okay. So this is a call to everybody on the internet. If you do stuff that might be considered dodgy, inform your partner about it. It will keep you out of a lot of trouble and unnecessary payments afterwards, right?
Talking about that, it's funny, but we have for our course related to GDPR, we created a full case study related not to Ashley Madison, but to Meetic. So we created the assignment of the students is to create and to resolve situations related to cybersecurity and data protection when they are creating a site such as this one. And they have to go through all the steps and identifying, creating the privacy policy, implementing security. So all our participants actually are involved, and I hope they are telling their wives that they are already on that site. They have created themselves.
Okay, good.
Thank you. So series of incidents that happened recently or not recently, you see from 2013 until 2019, we have various names, so many hacks. And why is that important for the fintech industry? When you look at the table in the middle, we see that we have financial crimes. We have to see the rise of multi-cloud computing, which makes it more difficult, more vulnerabilities. We talk about third-party and supply chain attacks, which means that the fintech today and everybody delivering services and operations to a fintech or to a bank or a financial services industry, they have to be really very careful for cybersecurity, and this will be coming certainly back to that. But I will present the rest of this presentation will be structured on how can we adopt whatever necessary knowledge, competences, and what are the certifications in order for us to be a fintech that is delivering adequate services, reliable and trustful for our clients. We talk about a shortage of cybersecurity professionals. We talk about phishing exploits. I will not read everything, but you see that there are so many issues. IoT obviously is an issue. Health, electronic medical records, etc. So at the end of the day, when you look at the far right, we see that the cybercrime is a huge business. Paying a lot for those experts who are helping organizations to protect themselves, and paying much, much, much more, obviously, to the villains that are hacking us, unfortunately. So who is hacking us at the end of the day? Well, whoever. I mean, this is a list of all those different organizations that may be hacking us. It can be intelligence agencies, criminal group, terrorist groups, activist groups, armed forces. So there are many of those, and this page lists what is it in it, what is it for them in this hacking, and what is the business impact typically. On the next page, I show where global banks are focusing digital investment. So fintech industry, listen to us, it is mainly on cybersecurity, as you see. So we have really to be reliable and trustful. We see all other investments, but we see that cybersecurity in 2019 and 2020 is a major focus. I read the fact that there are many cases in which large traditional banks have failed to protect the data of their customers. Do not imply this is important that fintech is better than other financial institutions. However, it is much easier, as we will see in the Cybersecurity Act later on, and what CCB is implementing, that it will be a much more limited scope, which means that we can put in place some cybersecurity foundations on which we can build services, on which we can implement additional improvement on the production. And we have to do it that way because it is never a one-shot. It is gradual implementation.
Okay.
A PwC report indicates that it is easy for the new banks to focus on security, on securing the activities of their clients on their systems than for large conventional banks. And it is more easy, as I'm mentioning, that fintech as well create by design any solution, any software service, any software or any service, because from the beginning it's much easier, it's much less expensive than we have to re-implement. And in my experience with many banks, I advise CEOs and CIOs and CISOs of various organizations and banks. From my experience, in many situations until today, some people deliver software solutions or build internally software or services in banks or other organizations, and then at the last moment they say, okay, before putting it on production, please don't forget to secure it. Wait a second, what are you talking about? We have to secure it from the first day on. So this is a major issue.
So it's security by design and privacy by design that have to be taken up from the very start of any IT project nowadays.
Absolutely, that is essential. It should cost much, much less. I used to deliver a presentation on the ISO 2734 that goes on what are the costs of implementing security in organization, dependent on what security do we need. And we see very clearly that the cost can be peanuts in the beginning, it can be huge, or you have to rewrite your system otherwise. Okay. This slide is a wonderful document. I don't know if you have ever looked at that document. If yes, probably put in the chat that you have been on it. This document is the ENISA Threat Landscape Report. It is produced every year. I haven't seen yet the 2019 one that goes through the year 2019. I probably didn't look the right place. And it goes through those different threats that are much more frequent nowadays than the year before. So we see what is happening in the column to the right, and then how it moved compared to the last year, and how last year it moved compared to the year before. Now the major question is, why is this important? Well, when I tell this to different people, and when I tell this to senior management who are having to think about budget, they start to be frightening. The issue is that if you are putting in place any protection against malware, number one, it is probably not at all the same protection against identity theft. So the guy who tells you, you know, Mr. Ataya, I'm very well protected. Okay, I'm glad to know that. Against which one of those? Well, all of them. Oh, yes, I believe you. So each one of those involves various vulnerabilities, involves various protection mechanisms, and involves various management methods and indicators. So we cannot be protected against all. So the question is, then what should we do? What we should identify those that are important for me, for my client, and put some protection, ideally the maximum of protection against those, and then start working on the others.
Yes.
There are luckily some EU regulations. EU regulations is related to what we call compliance. What is compliance? Compliance meaning that we have to implement, we are forced by the law to implement a series of protection, series of management methods. We talk about information security management system that we have to implement. We talk about privacy information management system. Those management systems that are required by GDPR, the NIS, I'm going to talk in a second what it is, the Cybersecurity Act, the IDAS, are all regulations that combine technical, administrative, and process-related activities in order for us to ensure that we have protections. Now, what are we talking about? We are talking about the NIS is Network Information Systems. It's for a critical infrastructure. It's securing those critical infrastructures in organizations and mainly in various European countries, which means that ensuring that we have protected our electrical supply, our water supply, our transport, and one part of that, one critical industry is the digital services industry, which means that from that time, the NIS was voted, it is 2 years now, we are required, we are compelled to implement adequate security, adequate protections for digital services, which means fintech are part of that. Many of the fintechs should evaluate whether they are part of that. In that case, they have absolutely to be careful that they have been implementing whatever necessary, because it is the law. The second one is the EU Cybersecurity Act. It's more related to small and middle-sized organizations, enterprises, that where countries are required to help them implement basic foundation security protections, which means that those fundamentals of protections should be implemented, and we'll be talking about that a little more in detail, because this will be the subject of 1 or 2 slides at least, because in my opinion, many of the fintech would be interested to be jumping on that bandwagon and become one of the first certified organization in Belgium. I will also organize a information session to give you much more detail if it is necessary. Yes, Tom? You had a question for me? No.
I had no question yet, but I think we can go very quick on GDPR, because this has been discussed in many of our previous offline events.
Thank you.
We can go straight for eIDAS.
What is eIDAS? I hope many of you know what eIDAS is. Otherwise, let me tell you, eIDAS is essential tool, because in Belgium we have been one of the first countries in Europe, or if not worldwide, to implement the electronic identity card. I was involved of that project. I was the official auditor of that project.
Okay.
And it is important to implement, and thanks to that identity card, we implemented online trust, allowing people to work with each other. We created electronic signature for the insurance sector. So this is essential for fintech industry to ensure that their service is trustful, which means that we accept a digital signature, a timestamping, e-archiving, etc.
And what's the relationship from an It's Me and an EID regarding to eIDAS? Because to my understanding, eIDAS is the official online IDs by governments that are being pulled together through standards, or are there also private partners in that delivering their services to eIDAS? When
we were launching in 2002, 2005, the identity card, we hoped that all banks will be using the identity card to simply replace everything else. And they didn't play that game. They didn't want to do it. As a result, from 2002 until 2012, 13, even 15, the identity card was not really efficiently used, if not at all. And some e-services started to use them. The public services started to use them. And luckily today, there is a more wide use of the identity card. In the late years, we have started to develop e-archiving concepts and the Belgian law, and started to work on services beyond the public services. And It's Me came to the market just at the right moment. It could actually have come 10 years ago. It would have been also very useful. And it was not aligned with eIDAS in the first version, but now they have been aligned with eIDAS. Why? Because the qualified certification requires series of technical features that should be implemented. Any other questions meanwhile?
Okay. Yeah, so I would like to invite everybody to use the chat if you have a question. We're looking forward to engage with you through these digital channels. So that's not just a one-way presentations like you would have in an aula. You can interrupt the professor. But because we have no questions yet, I think we're going to move on to some more details, and I'm sure we're going to be getting some questions through the chat channels.
Thank you, Tom.
So go ahead.
So let us talk about Cybersecurity Act. And let me tell you more what the Belgian Cybersecurity Center, as you see below, and the Belgian Cybersecurity Coalition, what have they been doing in relation to that? We have a full team working on the Cybersecurity Act. Our objective is that any SME requiring to implement a label, requiring to obtain a certificate, a label saying, I have fundamental basic protections and I can prove that I have implemented them, could show it and could use that label. And that label would be accepted all over Europe,
Okay.
thanks to the Cybersecurity Act. What it is about? It is about...
And how I was just going to ask how, because I haven't seen the label on many sites yet. How can you give any numbers on that, or you say no, it's a beginning, it's a big effort to get it through, or what is holding the success back from seeing it everywhere?
You are asking me that second slide is in on project 4 labeling is when will be starting to have you see that. It didn't start yet.
Yeah.
I will come back to that.
Okay.
So where are we today?
Yeah.
I cannot say we are nowhere, because a wonderful team, 20 people from various organizations, have been sitting together for the last almost 1 year now to develop what should be those criteria. The criteria should not be very harsh. So we used to say the word, our florist or butcher should become one day certified. Okay, I couldn't dream of those people becoming certified one day, but at least the fintech industry, the accountants, the lawyers, all those people who are dealing with data that belong, or with records that belong to organizations and people may require to be certified to be most trustful. So if you are a fintech with that certification, you certainly are better off than anybody else. You are better than the competition. So where are we? We are helping to plan for the security. So we almost finished that activity, which is related to developing what is required. And I'm as I mentioned, I'm planning to organize a specific session. I will send you the link on that on what we have to have. And then once we have assessed where we are, how can we manage the risk, and which protection should we implement? And then what are the security measures that we will be putting in place? And you have on the right side of the page a series of actions, series of domains, for example, security, technical measures, firewall, secure configuration, user access controls, malware, etc. So those are domains that should be looked at. Those are domains that involve as well technology as people, as well as processes that should be put in place in order to obtain that. Where are we today? We have developed and we are finalizing the self-assessment questionnaire. We are working on we have a team for working on promotion and communication. I'm sharing the team that is developing how to deliver advice, how to develop an advice for those who need an advice to be where we need to be. We will be working on labeling in the coming months, and we will be I'm involved also with the registry of specialists. So if people are able to deliver solutions, if you are a member of Fintech Belgium and you are advisor, you are consultant, external consultant, active in those domains, and you would be able to deliver advices, then I will be happy to share with you some information on this one. Please write to me and we will see how we can work together on that. Now, another domain that is important, where this Belgian Cybersecurity Center and Belgian Cyberecurity Coalition have been active in developing the Safe on Web. This is a wonderful site. I don't know if you have visited it, as Caroline.
Well, I just asked the question online, so in the poll section at your top right of the screen, you can answer for those who have been there. The yes.
This is
the first time you're clicking on a link to Safe on Web. So go ahead.
This is a very interesting site where you can have a lot of resources, posters, videos, a lot of material that you can use internally within your organization or with your clients. So please go to that site and take advantage of that because it's really wonderful. I mentioned a lot in relation to the Cybersecurity Coalition and the Cybersecurity Center. Probably a few words for those who do not know what they are. The Cybersecurity Center is part of the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, and they are involved, they are active in implementing, in directing the strategy, the Belgian strategy, and in ensuring that we are aligned and our country is safe. They supervise the CERT, the Incident Response Center, and they report directly to the Prime Minister, and they ensure that they are with their teams developing the materials necessary and ensuring, for example, that they organize classes for the public services, they discuss with various countries, etc. The Belgian Cybersecurity Coalition that you see below on the left is rather a grouping of public services, of academic organization, most of the universities are part of it, and the private sector. It is a grouping something like 70, 80 organizations that meet on a regular basis and that develop a lot of resources, material. I'm vice president and co-founder, and we manage the what we call the sharing sessions, which means that every quarter we organize a full day sharing session where the different experts, security experts from various organizations meet in order to share ideas and information on what they are doing, on what are the vulnerabilities, etc. Hello to all my friends who say hello, Mark, Alain, etc. Next, you also may be able to find very interesting publications on the internet. I'll be happy to send them to you. Those publications are jewels. The Incident Management Guide is something that you have to have. It is available in Dutch, French, and English. The Belgian Cybersecurity document is one that was that is a little more outdated, and the Cybersecurity Guide for SME is also another interesting document. The question is, what are those various domains where we need to have awareness? How can we get the knowledge on how to run risk assessment? Because at the end of the day, everything is a question of risk. How can we identify what is our risk for the service that we are delivering? And based on that risk, what are those domains of protection that we have to put in place? Talking about risk is essential, because many organizations neglect that this is the most important part. Many organizations spend a lot of money on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, by the way, has a quite bad reputation among CEOs and CIOs. Yes, you are the people who would like us to spend a lot of money. Well, you do not have to spend more money than what you wish, and what you wish is dependent on how much you are vulnerable. And how much you are vulnerable is your decision. It's not the decision of the client. It's your decision how far you would like to be insured of your services, and how much you would like to pay money to get 1% more insurance or 2% more insurance, or go to get services or build internally. All those are questions, or get insurance contracts. All those are questions that have to be taken not by the technical people, but by senior management.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, because we have a question from Daniel Verbruggen, who's picking up on what you said before, that for fintechs it's easier due to their smaller size to take cybersecurity frameworks in their applications. Does this mean there's some one-size-fits-all for all fintechs, or do you still need further tailoring depending on which business type, customer base, and size market?
When you look at all the various fintech that exist around the table, probably already here today from our participants, we see that we have so many different services, and all of them do not require the same type of security. All of them do not have the same type of vulnerability like those that we saw in the beginning. If you remember the threat list from the ENISA, so we have to be aware what is important for us.
Okay, great. Thanks for that answer. We'll continue with the slides.
The slide here is related to that Citadel image, where many organizations, exactly as you mentioned, Tom, feel that they have to build all those protections like everybody else. My neighbor did put in place that protection, so I have to do the same. Well, actually, not at all. And protecting your network is not sufficient. People implement firewall and consider that firewall is the only protection. And then they take their PC on the train and they lose their laptop and they have everything on it. So building a higher defensing walls and installing defense in-depth solutions is completely obsolete, completely outdated. Yeah, I use this presentation in Beijing as well. Sorry for that sentence. What are the protections we have to put in place? Where those protections that we have to put in place can be anything. And this list goes gradually from basic protections to advanced protection. The question is, where should we be? I will obviously not go into detail here, but I also invite you to look at CSX, Cybersecurity Fundamentals from ISACA. We organize a seminar on that and certification. This is a very important series of documents that people can download. Some of them are free of charge. Feel free to go to isaca.be or .org, I'm sorry, and download that.
I'll just pick one of them out of it, the regular phishing simulation. Is this targeted at your own team members or customers to see how they react to it? What's the goal of that one? The regular phishing simulation.
This is a very regular exercise that we see nowadays in organizations. The idea is that if you are an organization of 12 people managing a user data, customer data, or we are a large bank with 2,000 people working with customer data, will we click on that link that we received this morning by email and saying to us, click here and you are going to get that prize, or you want this, or you have to do that? This is a simulation that runs typically against a sample of the employees or all the employees, based on which we see which one responded and which one had been trapped. And then we go to them and we say to them, shame on you, why did you do that? Why did you click?
Okay, so it's for educational purposes and awareness training that you use those simulations. Okay, good. Thanks for explaining that one.
I'm very delighted with your question, Ton, because they are all very relevant. For your information, the phishing simulation and phishing in general was the base of this year's Safe on Web campaign. Each year the campaign was something different, and this year it was phishing. Now, let us get the reflex. I promised I'm not going to play the role of the professor, and Ton, stop me whenever you see that I'm becoming professor.
Yes, I'll do my very best.
This is a wonderful document, Framework for Improving Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity by NIST, NIST is the National Institute for Standard and Technology from the United States. And they have identified 5 domains, 5 activities that each one of us should be doing, even at home. What are those about? Those are related to, first of all, identify what is my business, what I need to protect, where is what I need to protect, and how should I protect it. This is essential activity that if you do whatever you do, but you didn't start with this one, good luck, you are wasting your time. And many organizations I know, unfortunately, have been wasting their time because they have not been spending the time on doing the identify and the risk management. The second one, protect. Once we have understood what is to be protected, let us do it, implement it. Yeah, but you know, Ton, we cannot protect everything. You should know that we don't have the budget. Okay, then take your decision, prioritize, and decide which one is before that one, which one this year, which one next year, and announce it. To say to your clients, please protect yourself because we are not yet prepared for that one. For example, well, we should not say that one because the enemy will hear us and will focus on that vulnerability. Yes, Ton.
I see several of our members on there, people representing fintechs like IBAN First, and also companies like Byway, who are regulated and who have received approval from the regulatory authorities to be active in this industry. So I would just like to invite them in the chat or questions to tell us if they got questions relating to these 5 domains, or if they were structured differently, or trying to find out. We had a session with DigiTeal a few days ago where they said they got an audit, but the audit basically was them explaining we have a process, but there was no question list from the national bank. They came up with it. So I see there's a lot of good frameworks out there that you can probably use as a handy way to quick start your formal procedure to show we thought about it, because that's what this is about. Having a procedure and showing we went to the process, we have identified and documented how we will address this.
Absolutely.
So I look forward to those in the chat to tell us who has formal documents on their own cybersecurity processes. And I specifically would like to know who has had to share them or share them themselves with the National Bank or the FSMA, if that would have been the case. So let's move on.
So the other activity is obviously detect. and respond and recover to the initial situation. Let us look at one example. If we look at detect, for example, what are those different activities for each one of those 5 domains? If you look at detect, for example, and if you look at, there are 3 activities that are essential for detect. One of them is anomalies and event. That one means that we have to see what's happening abnormal. Then we have, I didn't go into detail. One of them is incident alert, and then that wonderful tool, that wonderful document guides you into the different advanced frameworks where you have to find in that page, in that process, where you can have solutions for that issue.
Okay, wow, very good. So yeah, it looks like a great framework. We have a question which from Quentin Randax, who's asking, what is the legal framework to organize such a phishing campaign inside your company? Like, do you need to have this in the labor contracts, or how would you suggest or answer this question?
Obviously, you have to agree with your human resources department to see what are our how far can we trick our employees, how far it is legal in our situation. Commission paritaire and all those things should be reviewed to check if we can do that or not. There are
Okay. Are you aware of companies putting this into the annual evaluation of employees? You say, hey, we send you 3 trick mails and you bought 2 of them and you clicked on the links, although we already told you not to do that. Are you aware of that sort of?
I didn't see that. It is probable, but I haven't seen that. Again, I'm not legal.
Okay, so
I know that this question should require some solid legal background in the human resources. So that is not something that I would do with my employees without second advice.
And are you aware of averages in the industry or the financial industry or any other one? You do the first campaign, so people have been informed. But like, what is the click-through rate typically that you get on those?
To 50%, dependent on how smart is the.
Okay, I didn't get a percentage. Can you repeat it?
10 to 50%. Actually, it can be anything.
Wow, that high.
How much you click them, and how much your document is well done. When you can have an email that is so realistic that you are tempted to click.
Okay, we have Sandra Dosson who says, yes, of course, they use frameworks such as NIST or the ISO 27000 ones. We're coming back to those certifications at the end, so I'm not going to dive into those now. And we have the Thierry Koopman who's sharing the links of guidelines that you can use from the EBA, where you can probably quick start your to-do list if you haven't done any formal process for cybersecurity.
Thank you, Thierry. So I continue, which means that at the end of the day, we have to have or the function available or somebody playing the role of the Chief Information Security Officer. What are we talking about? We are talking about ensuring what we need to protect. Have we done the risk management? Did we implement those protections? And how can we manage operations and incident? Those are 4 essential tasks, similar to what we mentioned before. This is an expert from the CISM. The CISM is a Certified Information Security Manager certification. So it is essential that we know who in the organization is involved in those activities. Now, there is a huge shortage for digital professionals. If you look at the leftwise column, we see that there are many, many new technologies and opportunities bringing to us so many things that are changing the foundations of our business, of our processes. The question is, how is this impacting information security? When you look at information security professions in the center, we see that there are so many professional expertise, and there are so many professions that are new or not new that are becoming essential. It is clear, I'm involved with Agoria, and we have a real shortage. We identify the shortage in information security. It's huge. When you look at cybersecurity professions that are the most common, we look at, again, the list on the right. We see from 1 to 8 those different types of information of cybersecurity professions.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, on the one hand, you say there is a shortage. On the other hand, you put machine learning and AI. There are also an opportunity to automate a number of the known threats to facilitate these incident handlers that they get already pre-qualified threats and they don't have to waste time looking at the noise. Is this a useful approach, or you say no, it doesn't apply to the security
Absolutely.
risks?
On one hand, the new technology brings to us new opportunities for business, and they also bring to us new opportunities for solutions against threats and to improve our to reduce our vulnerabilities and protections, to improve our protections. Absolutely, no doubt about that. I mean, big data, artificial intelligence, adequate cloud, privacy by design, many of those are essential. When you look at blockchain and how much blockchain can help us, Mark Toledo, you know about that? I see that.
Yeah, I saw he was in the call. I'm pretty sure he'll be happy to hear that you're linking him to the blockchain.
So as a result, what are we doing? What are we doing? We have been. I have been reviewing, and I would like to share with you a series of activities in order to take the people by the hand and identify where are we in those domains. We are launching an assessment that identifies your DNA in cybersecurity or in IT in general. The IT is not finished yet. What is the objective? The objective is that you will be able to evaluate what domains, dependent on what activity I have in the domain of cybersecurity, what position I have, where am I strong, and where I need to improve my knowledge. So the result can be very interesting. And I would like to mention some of the education that exists. I will obviously start, but very short, with the education that I manage at Solvay Brussels School, where we have launched for the last 20 years now, but it is adapted almost every second year, series of education. If you looked at above the track S, the different domains in cybersecurity, in information security, etc. And I will not go through the different domains that are related to information.
I basically remember all the people who would be negatively hit as an employee that are looking for a career switch. You're pretty much saying follow one of these courses and you're guaranteed to have a job for the next decade,
for the last
right?
20 years, we have been building a curriculum that is uncomparable nowhere. So people select whatever they wish here. And by the way, we are starting in a few weeks. The courses, one of them is evening CISSP classes and other classes that you may see. I should not forget to mention that we also have a program in GDPR. That is a leading program that is also starting in the coming weeks.
Okay, so those who have extra time on their hands or with the work from home, there's not many of them, but you never know. There's opportunities to get self-trained online in the very short term through these Solvay Business School
The advantage
trainings.
of that education that it is also aligned with various certification schemes. So if you like to have CISSP, CISM, etc., they are aligned with our education. And what we have developed, and you see the link below, we have developed a model where you can attend the education at university or in parallel our classes, and then be able to go through the examination. So we are organizing an information session on that at the end of the month. The photo on the left, Ton, is a graduation photo for a trusted fintech program that I launched 2 years ago. And this is...
Okay, it's very well pixelated, so the privacy of those people is very well maintained, because it's. But I get the idea. They're very proud to get with the certificate. They're holding it up, so I can see that much.
Now, this is a list again. I mentioned many names. My objective is not to go through all those. The idea is that be aware, as mentioned by Sandra, ISO 27001 lead implementer, lead auditor, ISO 27005, ISO 27701 is more for the privacy-related professionals. So all those are available should you be interested. Attend the information session that I have mentioned.
Okay, great. And we have just launched a poll on that to see which ones people already have, or at least want to know more about. So you can indicate in the poll which certification you already obtained if you're in this webinar.
Wonderful. While you are filling up the poll, I would like to mention to you that the most well-known one, as I mentioned, is called CISSP, that existed for the last 25 years at least. And I participated in a group of people in 2002 to create the CISM, Certified Information Security Manager. Today, there are something like 50,000 people worldwide who have the CISM. This is recognized. This is much more managerial. And it's kind of the other part of the ISO 27000 one is a very well-known one.
Okay, good. So yeah, certification, always good for the external world. I'm not aware of any formal requirements for fintech specifically to show those, but I did see that Byway just answered that they get a national bank and that their reporting on this subject is part of the regular audits they're having. So there's definitely we have a question from Jona Halfman. What's the cost range to get your startup certified for the ISO 27000 range?
It can be,
because they're looking into it.
Yeah. The cost of passing the examination is around 300 for some certification like the CSX, to 500 for the ISO 27000. This is only for passing the exam. It can go up to 900. However, many people wish to go and sit for the classes. As a result, for the classes is 2, 3, or up to 5 days, which means that people will have to pay something like 400, 500, 3 to 500 per day. This is the average cost on the market.
Okay, thanks for that very clear answer. So, and Jona is thanking you too. So.
Thank you. Okay, so this is mainly what I wanted to present at this stage. I'm really certainly available for many questions that you may have, or I'm certainly available to go back to any slide that I did not explain.
Yeah. Now, we know this was a lot of information because it's a very wide field. Cybersecurity, it's immense. So the chat is open for your questions. This is the moment where we can go back in the slides. Don't forget our polls. And if there's no questions, I might start with I would say the top topical one, which is Zoom being in the news and being shared in so many large organizations, including banks, and this tool has basically didn't come out of nowhere because they exist for a while, but they did some from a usability perspective, some smart things, but from a security perspective, very dark. What is your opinion on that? Because people are clicking on it, installing it, and they even pushed. Their CEO invites them for the COVID talk of the week to engage with their teams. How do you feel about that? What's your stance on that?
I attended his presentation, his interview on CNN 1 week ago. Well, again, it is very typical. Since I have been in IT, I have been also in development. People are obsessed by functionality, by new features.
Yes.
Which means that look in front of us, we like to create something. Well, we are all like that, and we would not like to look behind. We would not like that guy who is nagging and saying, well, don't forget that risk, well, don't forget that security. We would like to go faster and implement everything we have in new features, and not going back and spending money on protection. So this is the usual dilemma. The question is how much an organization, whether it's a fintech, whether it's a Zoom, whether it is whatever, how much have they been spending time and money on protecting themselves, and how much didn't they wish rather to go and implement and announce the new functionality first of all, and then let's try if it is okay and if it is safe.
Because the message that's being sent out now by the Zoom CEO is that they're freezing all development of new features, and the whole effort for the rest of the year will go into cybersecurity and data privacy.
What a waste!
But that means, and they're going back to us, from what we can see, it will be very impacting what they need to do now, because it wasn't baked in from the beginning.
Exactly. That's a waste of money, because if they would have put in place cybersecurity by design, the cost, as I mentioned, would have been much reduced.
Yeah, it would have been much lower.
Really.
Yes. So,
and again, there are two types of security specialists, like there are two types of IT professionals. There are the security specialists who are very well in everything related to hacking, network protection, etc. Everything related to the cybersecurity for operations, and there are those experts in the domain of development, application development, website development, etc. In 2005, I had identified the risk that applications are not secure at all. We have created with my co-founder, Johan Peters, the SecAppDev, Secure Application Development, which is secappdev.org. I didn't publish it, sorry. It is a 1 week education that we had to cancel because of coronavirus 3 weeks ago. That happens once a year. People, worldwide experts coming from all over the places to learn about how to develop secure software. Imagine worldwide, we have been the first, and we probably are, did not yet see any comparable event with 1 full week, expert coming worldwide to Leuven, because today we organize it also with KU Leuven, part of the team. This is really essential. Application security. Essential.
I just launched a poll to ask how many people have downloaded the Zoom from there's still about 40 of you in this session actively. So I would like to see, because around me, I keep getting invitations, both privately and professionally. I would like to see how many of them, because this is a fintech, and I somehow assume that most of our participants are in the financial industry, to see how that balances out. So I answered yes. I heard that you also already use the tool, just to get an idea about this, because it means that we as end users are not waiting for the CTO, CIO, or CSO to tell us you cannot install this tool. Yeah? We are getting links, and we're a bit on our own to make sure the work from home works. And this tool is I mean, I heard there are over 200 million concurrent users at some point in time, and active users for sure. And at this point in time, 50% of the people in the poll have already answered yes. So, and another 38% is using the web version only. But even that one might also have some flaws in it, that pull data from you or share data from you without you knowingly sharing all that much. So yeah, I don't want to get too much further into this one provider, but it's a nice recent example of cybersecurity and the risks related to it, and our trust in the fast-growing providers.
Absolutely, I agree.
If I'm going to the chat now to see what if anybody is firing up new questions again. So we have, yeah, this is another good. Thierry Koopman is pointing out that good or bad press is both good marketing for Zoom. Apparently, people are not. And I'm the same. I didn't uninstall Zoom after reading the first concern of being exposed. So it is helping them in a very cynical way to grow, because they keep being in the news. How do you feel about that? Or what's the opinion on all those tools that have been exposed, that we get sort of this reaction, like, who hasn't been hacked? And that happens all the time. And I don't. How do you feel about that? The public reaction to these
one argument can be that at least those de facto have received the message, and they to stay in business, they have protected themselves, or they are protecting themselves well. What about the others? We don't know how much they are protected. And I always give that funny comparison. Imagine since the 1970s, every single organization, small or big, has to public financial records, accounting records, financial reports, and prove where the money went. So if you don't have, you couldn't prove where that 1,000 euro, 100 euro disappeared, you cannot publish those records. And yet, every single digital organization, or every single organization, simply whatever organization, can lose millions on bad investments, can use millions in data records, and nobody will publish that in, or not most of the time they will not publish that in their financial records. How valuable are the financial records today, and how much shouldn't we adjust those financial records to include the virtual the virtual and the electronic asset, not only the financial asset and the bank accounts?
And is this an idea that your cybersecurity council is thinking about, of asking the annual accounts, which also have an employment, I would say, chapter to it, that we would extend that one because the channel is there, that you would report the number of known incidents and data breaches? Is this something you're thinking about?
What we have implemented in the past, something similar to that. When I used to work with Ernst & Young, I as a partner, I convinced one of the largest worldwide telecommunication organization for banking that is based in Belgium, as you know.
Yes.
We convinced them.
Yes, it starts with an S, but we won't say anything more.
By the way, and we convinced them, and for many years to take up a certification. They certify themselves with the help of a third party. They certify themselves on how secure they are. And from that day on, from 2000, 2001, in my opinion, was the first report produced, until today, every year they issue a statement on all those different domains of cybersecurity and information security, and how the audit that was conducted, what were the results, which means that every single one of the thousands of clients, and each client is a big name, like Fortis, like Belfius, like KBC, each one of those organization, banks, clients know exactly where is SWIFT in relation to security.
Okay, great. We'll take another live question. I'll put it on the screen. So it's another one from Daniel Verbruggen, who's asking, blockchain Ethereum, they're supposed to be unhackable protocols. Should we apply them more widely? Can we copy some of the promised great advantages that we've all been waiting for to see delivered outside of the cryptocurrencies as a security measure?
I think what we should do, and we should start somewhere, is that we implement what I mentioned for SWIFT. We can implement it in all those leading organizations in one or the other technology, for example, blockchain, and implement kind of auto-evaluation, self-evaluation in various domains. This is what we are trying to put in place with the Cybersecurity Act and with the CCB scheme that I mentioned to you. If we start small, every single organization could start highlighting, showing where they are, the result of their evaluation, which means that at the end of the day, they will be able, obviously they're not going to give much details because hackers could use those, but if they are able to highlight the importance of security for them and start tracking for themselves where they are on that domain, it could be a good idea.
Okay, thank you for that answer. We have a few more minutes left in the timing we had allocated for this webinar. So I would say the chat and the question tabs are all yours if you want to go for that. Maybe if we go back to your slide where you were showing all the different types of it's even more back. I'll recognize it when I see it. All the different elements. So this one is the big, I would say, capstock in Dutch framework. But I was referring to the ones with all the fields where you need to think about implementing a cybersecurity policy. So this one indeed. So yeah, the level one that goes from you just showed it, but you went back and forth over it. It's the one with the. No, it's one. Yeah, but this one is good too. I just wanted to put on a relevant slide, maybe to initiate more questions. And so having a framework like this that can help you to quickly put together a document, a procedure that you as a fintech can use to show the regulator, hey, we went through this. We had a previous question about what getting certified. It's about 5 days and you pay a few €100 for the certificate and you jump the hoop. But I think this one is much more cumbersome. You can literally spend weeks in that and going around your small organization and getting answers from the different persons and to make sure that you document it properly. What is your estimate for, I would say, a 15-20 person fintech operating from Belgium that want to get this done as a first result? How many person days would you estimate that it takes to get there?
Yeah, in your question, you asked two questions. As I heard about professional certification.
Sorry, yeah.
Is me as a person. I go through the exam and I succeed that professional certification, proving that I capable, and the organization. Imagine that we, within Fintech Belgium, for example, imagine that we would implement kind of workshops that we go one half a day per month, for example, or per week, whatever you wish, where we go through those different protections of the CCB and where we guide each other. And I will be happy to propose how to moderate and how to go through different steps. And then people can gradually go one by one. As a result, we can obtain, probably in 2 months, probably in 3 months, kind of positioning of half of those people, if not more of most of those people, dependent on their motivation, a potential of proving on the CCB, for example, scheme where we are, and that could be first step. So if you think that could be a good idea, I will be delighted to propose to all the attendees, all the Fintech Belgian members, a kind of workshop to which I will be happy to invite people from the CCB itself, people from our community, from our team, as I mentioned, and based on that, we can have you as a result, since you are the most advanced people in many domains of technology, we can have you, I'm trying to find where is that CCB one, we can have you getting involved in one of those projects and have you giving advice to us on how to implement, how to improve. So by all means, for your information, Tom, funny that your questions are all very relevant. I'm saying that frankly, I believe it, because we have launched a pilot project in the last 4 months, where many organizations, SMEs that we knew, were invited to go through the CCB scheme. And we have been going to them and interviewing them and checking with them, asking for their records, asking for their protections. As a result, today we have something like 15 organizations that have been checked. And we are working with those. But those, to give you an idea, are probably not in leading technologies such as some of the fintech that I know.
Okay. I've just launched a poll to see how the 40 people in this session are reacting to it, and I'm asking who. I think it's an excellent idea and suggestion. We really like those interactive ways to improve ourselves as we're a membership organization trying to advance the Belgian fintech ecosystem. So I'm putting it out in the open. Who would spend half a day with actionable documentation? Because that's what you would get out of it, right? You would get something hands-on out of it that would improve your organization that you can probably use towards a regulator or an oversight agency that comes and asks for this. We have some bold answers, because I've put yes, we've got this covered 100%, and some people are going for that one. So I know that's what you want to ask if the National Bank comes by, but I'm asking you to be honest there. So let's see. So far, we have a few people saying, "Well, it's interesting." We already have 2 very bold answers who say they've got it 100% covered. So our members are just too good to be true, right? They don't need improvement or that. But we do have 4 others in the meantime who say they would like to invest half a day a month into this. So we'll after this call, we'll follow up on this. Excellent suggestion to see if we can do more in that perspective. We got some more comments in the chat, but no more questions for the time being. Still referring to the phishing attempts that go around with Zoom too. As soon as you have something that is well known, scammers will use it for phishing. I saw there was now sextortion scams that are using COVID to say we know when you'll get infected and we won't tell anybody, or we knew you got infected and we'll keep it for ourselves, or here's a way to test or cure whatever the scam is about. But so yeah, as always, be very careful in what you get around this popular subject, because the scammers also read the news.
Absolutely.
And then another good comment: security is still about people, the weakest link often in there, and people are not rational beings. Hence the big question, like we talk about privacy, but we as I'm generalizing now, put it all on Facebook. So yeah, we treasure our privacy, but we don't treasure it enough to just share it openly with a private organization where we don't know what they really do with it.
Exactly. Don't tell my daughters all that one.
Thanks for that one. Yeah. So yeah, well, I think we should tell our children to be very, very careful with what's happening in private silos, because basically, if you put it online, it's no longer yours, and it's our responsibility and our, as in the fintech community, to make sure that we do everything we can to secure the sensitive data. Okay. So many people are thanking you for the great session. I think they're feeling this is running to the end, both of the timing and the content. So on behalf of everybody in this webinar, I want to thank you for the excellent content and the great way of answering the live questions too. And I would like to invite everybody, maybe, Georges, I would like to ask you to go to the very last slide, which is also showing our upcoming webinars for those who like this format and have a little bit more time from 2 to 3 in the next few weeks, which is becoming our default webinar schedule. You will see that next Friday at 2, we have the first one, which is financial crisis survival. We got a lot of questions from fintech members who say, I'm having a very, very tough time, first of all, in selling, and secondly, in keeping my customers. If you're in a SaaS model, they start canceling and stuff like that. And we have another one on so we want to address that, especially how do you sell from home. And another one is the Thursday after that. That's even afterward, the 23rd of April. And my screen is bleeping away now. We're going to have a digital classroom, and this is specifically on how to become and stay licensed in Belgium. So if you're providing financial services, and the link is on your screen now, if you want to already sign up for that one. We will do this together with the Fibelfin Academy. We had a really, really good collaboration with them in the past. And so we will try to make this a very actionable session as well in this classroom for those of you who are either already licensed and want to either enlarge their license to more fields, or for those that want to keep it and want to get good inside advice from the experienced Fibelfin trainers on how to do that. So a good comment from Alessandra here. This gains you points. For some of you who have to show every year that they are accredited, you get accreditation points as a financial professional if you get the degree that comes with the digital classroom. So that's a very, 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 very good one too. So I see Xavier Cormand is missing the real handshake. I'll do the elbow here. I don't know if you're already acquainted with the virtual elbow. So we'll say bye to everybody. We are like flapping our wings and waving goodbye to you. And stay safe, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. Georges, big thanks for this nice session, and looking forward to the next session. Bye, everybody. And bye-bye. We still read your comments until Caroline is stopping this session. So bye-bye, everybody. We read what you write to us. Bye, Mark. Bye, Regina. Bye, everybody. And I think Caroline wants